What in the reincarnation is this? Hey everybody. I have seen a clip of this dude sing on Instagram. I probably watched it more than 50 times at least, because it's just goddamn great. And I never really watch YouTube, so I forget about these things. And I had a friend say like, "Hey man, why don't you make an analysis video and stuff of I guess it's the Tesky brothers, Australian folks." And I'm going to do just that. I'm actually excited because I never listened to the whole song because, I get off the internet and then I try to do other things in life because I don't like sitting here too much. So without further ado, this is Rain. I don't know if this is live. It looks like it's live, but, I'll get into those things as well. But here we go, man. Let's do this. By the way, if you haven't seen this on the gram or something like that, you're in for a goddamn treat. Because this is some old school, weird, reincarnated type voice, vocal type shit, and it's good. It's real good. And yes, we should address right out of the gate that it does very much from this angle and perspective look like whatever his name is, Thor. We know. So first of all, Jesus, when I was watching this before, I was trying to figure out if this is live, what kind of headphones is he using? Because I don't know of any Bluetooth kind of technology where you're going to have zero latency and be able to track like this. And the weird room he's standing in, this, this beautiful photo type booth type of room with it looks like a 47 hanging from the ceiling. And there's no wires. There's no wires except for the mic hanging down. But so who knows? But it seems very live. People have said it before where they see me going like this while I'm singing, and they say stupid shit sometimes because my hand will be going like this or whatever. And doing things like this, gestures where you don't necessarily know what you're doing with your hands, and people love to just get jealous and say stupid things. When people are terrific. But I do the same thing a lot of times when I'm singing. It's just kind of interacting with your diaphragm and interacting with your stomach, and you're just kind of, I don't know, man, you're kind of tapping in and paying attention a little bit more. So anyway, how does one even go about analyzing this? First of all, one of the funnier things about this, before we even get into the guy's voices, I'm pretty sure that these are Australian dude, from Melbourne. Unless somehow I got that messed up. It's always odd to me to hear people that sound like a totally different thing when they're from a totally different place. And again, that's not a dig or a weird thing, but I remember there was a band that came out called First Aid Kit, and I think the two sisters from that are Swedish, but they sound like they're from here in Nashville, country type vibes, and it's totally different. And then you hear them talk with like kind of a little bit of an accent, and you're like, what is going on? But what you're influenced by is what you're influenced by. I mean, if somebody said, what's one of the most iconic versions of swamp music from Louisiana, people would go, Creedence Clearwater Revival. And he was not from Louisiana, and he was not from any of that. He was just influenced by it and just did it very, very well. So anyway, putting all that aside, this sounds like, if somebody was not looking at it, it sounds like some old black blues dude from like the 50s or something, but he's doing it so well, and there's so much to learn from listening to something like this, but mimicking something like this is not easy at all, because that, I don't ever really call distortion natural. Some people are more inclined and it's more natural than others where they have to work harder to get it. But in this case, It's just really on there and really prevalent. I don't know how healthy his voice is for how long and how long he can do this and maintain it and how whatever the fuck. But it just sounds terrific. Let's talk about placement first. But I just said a whole bunch of things, and that's usually going to turn people off. So let's listen a little bit more. I want you to try to place yourself inside of his head. And I know that sounds funny, but I want you to listen sonically to where his voice is seated. Again, if we think about somebody that's Australian, we might pull the voice back a bit. But if we start thinking about somebody that's American, we might think about the voice being like right here, like you guys, like. I hope you guys have had the wonderful experience of walking down the street in any city now and hearing everybody say like. So very forward, very front. Anyway, when we sing, we can naturally have a placement that kind of goes along with certain things, or we might also have a placement where we're guiding it towards something that's unnatural or just feels better for us, feels like home. And again, since people always say I sound like Chris Cornell a little bit, my natural placement a lot of times might be more nasal. Is that rain? Oh. But also not moving my mouth much, not opening very much, very relaxed. Similar in this case, where he's just placing that voice in a magical sonic pocket, and he's not doing that much that's moving him out of that. So again, tap into that while you're listening to this a little bit more before I pause it and upset everybody.
To be alone, a soul with no face is a lonely base, but I know it's hard, and I know it's hard.
Right there. He's almost in speaking register, and he's got distortion. I know it's hard. If I said, I know it's hard, my voice, I got to work if I'm going to start distorting it. I know it's hard. I know. Or it's just how I'm compressing. I'm not working that hard there, but for me to continuously do that, I could get myself into trouble. And it doesn't sound as good as his. I'm not warmed up either, but anyway, interesting thing to listen for. Like this.
To be alone. Yeah.
So check that out one more time, and again, sonically, let's listen to where he's placing his voice in his head.
Yeah.
So one might be inclined to think that it just went, yeah, right here, but it's not. It's, so he's opening his mouth to accommodate for that resonance and everything. Yeah. Which is why you can see that he doesn't have to go like this. Yeah. So that's a little bit further back in terms of this placement laser pointer. Now, I talk about placement all the time, and I find a lot of vocal key teachers don't talk about it, but it is, in my opinion, one of the most important foundational pieces of singing, and really helps you to figure out problems that you're having when you're trying to find new coordinations, distortion, mixed voice, all this stuff. Are you falling forward? Are you moving back? Are you falling forward? Are you moving back? Are you staying kind of neutral? Is your larynx lifting and coming forward again? Are you going horizontal? Your larynx is lifting, falling forward. All these kinds of things. But anyway, in terms of sonic and placement and resonance and stuff, like I said, he's staying in such a wonderfully protected pocket, which is why this distortion works for him so well, and why he just sounds consistently the same. The words, in his case, are very, very secondary. Sometimes so much that you can barely tell what he's saying. If I could hold you, my friend. You could barely tell. If I could hold you, my friend. That makes it sound, if we're being honest, it sucks. If I said, if I could hold you, my friend, is very stylistically different between, if I could hold you, my friend, and my... It just kind of keeps musically sounding more like an instrument than something that's going, hold you, my friend, like this.
Now this cloud but we can still walk across.
Man, another reason this reels you in so much, and something that's lost in so much music now, is that everything in terms of dynamics is gone in music now, because there's been a volume war going on for a very, very long time, where everything's continuously compressed and smashed. Right here, you hear him kind of lean into a note and then completely fall off to the point where it's almost inaudible. Be alone at that rain. Are you crying again? Would be the same if I could hold you, my friend. You hear all these different levels of if that rain. And we get to bring it, all that energy back down and up and down. And it tells so much more of a story of pain and hardship and all this kind of stuff from a musical standpoint, emotional, everything, when something isn't just, is that rain? Am you crying again? Anyway, so yeah, you just, I love hearing him trail off and you barely get the last word. Oh, my friend. You just hear this little.
Cause I know it's hard to be alone.
So let's just try that. Be alone. I'm not good at all these fast trills, and everybody's got certain ones they run to, and my friend that sent me this actually even said, like, he has some runs similar to what you do, and I was like, oh, okay. He sounds a lot better than I do, man. Be alone, alone. I think it's that. I put out videos about this stuff before. I like to move the majority of my trills from the diaphragm. So it's similar to, I've said this before, those stupid things that used to come out of Halloween. They used to go, and they would move across the table like this. If you can shake your diaphragm, which of course most of us can, or all of us should be able to, coughing, and we're moving this from here. If I can start using that muscular spasm thing, starting to sound like Robert, whatever the Kennedy dude that just is helping with all the food stuff. Anyway, if I can move that, and then I can start utilizing that musculature for fast movements. It's harder for me to go lone sometimes. I like to go lone. That is easier for me because it feels like I'm just going like this in my stomach. So something easy for you to or something fun for you to try. Lone. I don't think I'm doing the same thing he was there because I think I forgot it by now, but own, 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 own. You hear those three? Do-do-do, do-do-do, coming from right here. You can try it from up here, and you can try it with a Y too. Yon, 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 yon. Like, oh, 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 oh. But not as effective in my opinion.
A soul with no face is a lonely place. I know it's hard, and I know it's hard.
So he's hitting an F sharp 4 there, I think is his high note. F. Except right there he's hitting an A4. But he's kind of going into more of a head right there. Head voice. But if we... Oh, it's lonely embrace, but I know it's hard. Oh, if you want to try to do something like that, again, we're working on placement and making sure that we're not going like this. We have to go, oh, we have to lower the larynx and pull back and up. Oh. Actually not as hard as you would think, but it does take a lot of training to train yourself from going to It's stretching either this way or this way, as such things are in life. And A. If that is that rain.
To be alone, to be alone.
Right there, we hear his voice naturally cracking. And almost, in my professional opinion, in a not necessarily good way, but it still sounds so amazing that you're just like, yes, give me more of that. I don't think he's hurting his voice, but again, if he stopped singing and he started talking and he was like, thanks everybody, I appreciate you listening to my song, then we would say that's pretty natural distortion. But again, most of the time these things are an effect that we're putting on in the vocal cord, something. Oh, it was that rain is me affecting that sound. But again, when it comes to just regular, I don't go, hey, everybody, thank you. So hearing his voice crack like that is his compression, is the way his vocal tract is set up. But again, it's odd to hear that. You'll hear that with Sia as well, where she doesn't necessarily sing healthy from what I've heard either in a lot of ways, using this muscle a lot, which I'm very acquainted with. But you'll hear her voice push to that precipice and cracking, but it sounds so great. And there's lessons to be learned from that too. When somebody pushes into a tension zone, they either sound tense to the point where it makes people go, and it doesn't sound pleasant. People can tell that it's not good, but if it sounds good or somebody's worked it out where it's effective in a sense, sonically pleasing, then it brings everything, makes everything better. They've taken their voice and pushed it to a threshold each time that's like, because they've made it work instead of it being like, a lot of us are much more sensitive than we would probably know. So when somebody enters into a place like that, but we can feel it and it's not really working very well, we can feel it for the wrong reasons too and just be like, they barely hit the note,
Yeah, so little. Won't you come to me now?
So there too, really quick, we can actually hear that he's overusing air a tiny bit. So this is typically, something that we would say is not typically good. Typically. But, is me using extra air. And that tends to draw out the chords and become problematic pretty quickly. But again, everybody's different. Everybody's anatomy's different. Everybody's practice is different. All that kind of stuff. But we hear that his voice cracked there again, or got a little bit close to it. Is me pushing this extra air over.
So little. Won't you come to me now? I wanna hold ya.
There it was again. Hold ya. There's that A4 again, but you heard that his voice cracked. It was enough in head that it still made connection. I wanna hold ya. I wanna hold ya. I can't mimic him. He's down here farther. But it still sounds great, right? Sounds like somebody that's been sitting in a room crying to themselves for like a day, and then you finally get to hear the story of their pain. And can we just talk about the production of this song? Man, to have something that sounds like it just teleports you back to this stuff and brings all that kind of nostalgia feeling. I didn't even grow up with this stuff, but I've listened to plenty of it. It's terrific. The only negative thing I'll say is that a lot of times, similar to like the Mumford & Sons and a lot of these bands that are kind of really just teleporting and bringing this older music back, it doesn't stick around as long and it's not quite as effective. It does give you the tingly dinglies in your dangus because some party is like, we've been here before, this is amazing, but it's not really new. So it kind of, it's like a fashion trend sometimes where like people are like, I'm going to wear socks from the 80s that are big and stupid. And then people are like, oh my God, you're so original. And like, yeah. And then, give it a few months and then it's like, that's already been done and it's old. What's the new thing we can do? So again, not a dig necessarily, but it is an interesting observation I've kind of continuously made throughout paying attention to music, is that some of this stuff just doesn't tend to last as much if it's already been done. But again, you got to give them credit for how amazingly they're doing it, you know. Sounds like he was struggling right there in a sense where it kind of almost wasn't good. But again, whatever.
But is there rain?
That was so good. Rain, rain. So you might be getting some of that distortion like you're hearing me get from this lower thing. Is that rain? Without coffee in my throat. That's me pulling right here with this chin muscle. I forget exactly what it's called because it doesn't really matter. But we have a muscle here that pulls down on the larynx, and then we have a muscle here that pulls up on the larynx. And sometimes they're very much at odds with each other. And we can learn to use them, and you're going to be using them in different ways, but we tend to want to probably use more of the opening throat. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because this one will tend to kind of start grabbing a hold and cutting us off from our support and a lot of things like that. Interesting stuff to try. You know, it's not make or break. It's not going to ruin your voice forever. And these things are about experimentation. But I've talked for way too long, so I'll give a couple more minutes here and try to finish this off. And I appreciate you joining me here.
Or am I crying again? A soul with no face is a lonely maze. But I know it's hard, and I know it's hard to be alone, to be alone.
Be alone. Something like that. That was so nice. Be alone. So good. Oh, I think my mouse died.